When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind?
George St-Pierre.
Okay.
Yeah, I see him. He's got a net worth, I think, 25, 30 million. He owns his own apartment. He's on movies. He's on commercials. He can't walk down the street, and he's got a legacy that's going to outlive his life. So, and then as a fighter as well, he's everything that I am as well, except for just had the spotlight shone on him where he can shine. So,
how'd you guys become friends?
Through a pure fluke. I was doing seminars in Canada, and then I did 7 seminars in 7 days, and then I had 2 days spare before I hopped on my plane and came back to Australia. And then the gentleman that brought me out said, "Hey, just to kill time, would you like to travel to Montreal and meet George St-Pierre?" It's like, I'd love to. I've watched him on TV so many times. He's a genius. So they rang the trainer, Mr. PIERRE'S, and he said, "Hey, you wouldn't believe it. Tomorrow is Muay Thai sparring day. Would Wayne like to jump in and participate?" Oh, mate, this would be crazy. So yeah, we jumped in the car. We drove to Montreal. When we got there, they were wrestling. So I sat there and watched in just amazement because I'd never seen that higher class of wrestling before. Yeah. They were like eels escaping one another's locks, and just it was just really, really cool. And then they put us up in a hotel. I said, "Okay, next day sparring." And then everyone's left, and it was just me and PIERRE'S left. And PIERRE'S was whispering in my ear saying, "Oh, everyone is so scared." "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, I've told everyone about your reputation. I told them you were some killer. It's going to be really, everyone's can't wait." So, "Oh, no." So the next day came, we put our shin pads and gloves on, we got warmed up. PIERRE'S like, "Hey, George, you go with John Wayne." It's like, oh my God, because I just wanted to meet him. I just wanted to get a photo with him. I didn't know we were going to actually spar. So we touched gloves. And then for the first 30 seconds, before the spar started, I was like, "Oh, George, just want to let you know, George, I'm your biggest fan. I can't believe this happened." And he just looked at me like I was just going to be some tomato can.
Did he know who you were?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. No. And is he about the same size as you, or a little bigger?
Same size.
Same size, okay.
Probably a little bit more muscly, but about same size. So then, because I've seen George fight Jake Shields and Koscheck, and he had this killer jab, so I'm expecting this like ruthless, really fast. And the spar started, and then he's throwing something, and I blocked that. And then I've moved out of this, then I blocked and then countered. And then after 30 seconds, I'm thinking, hang on, I think I'm winning, which I wasn't expecting. And then once I started picking it up, and then George made a mistake. So I started chasing him with hands from one side of the room to the other side of the room. And then I believe he threw a lazy jab. So I've parried his jab out of the way, and I threw a head kick. And then I've just placed it on his neck and just sort of left it there for a bit of a fun. And it was almost like the whole room's, like an old Western, the whole room stopped and stared. Here's my shin on George's, and George's eyes like this big saucepans.
You just left it there?
Just for fun. And then the spars finished, and I was that was cool. And then after the spar, just quietly, George just come up to me and said, "Just want to thank you so much for not knocking me out." He said, "If that had been anyone else, that was their opportunity to I've knocked out George, but you just place it there." He said, "Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It was I could have got you any time I wanted to. I just wanted to show you that I could." And then so we've done some photos, and it was really, really amazing. So I've gone back to Australia, and about 4 months later, my phone rings, and it's PIERRE'S. And I answer the phone. "Hey, yeah, look, I'm just sitting here beside George St-Pierre. He was really impressed by the sparring and what you guys were doing. He's got this big fight coming up with Johnny Hendricks. He'd like to know, would you like to come back to Montreal and train George personally for 2 weeks? You don't have to do any classes or seminars. It's just you and George one-on-one for 2 weeks." So I asked my wife, "Angie, can I go train George?" "Yeah, sure." "All right, yeah, I guess." And then next couple of days later, I was on the plane, and then George at the airport to pick me up. It's like, this is like crazy. And then we were inseparable. He took me to the hotel, and he picked me up for breakfast, and we'd eat a la carte. And to George's credit, he's that guy that if there's 20 people, everyone gets their meals. And then the bill would come, and he wouldn't even look at the bill. He just put his card in. And then because I knew George was paying too, it's like, oh, what'd you like to eat? You look at the menu and there'd be a $30 steak and a $50 steak because you've sort of, can I get the 30? He goes, what are you doing? The $50 steak is amazing. You got to try. Get him the 50. He'll have the 50. He's that guy. He's just the best, genuine. Not only is just a dead set champion, but as a person, he is a dead set champion as a person also. So it was the highlight of my life as a trainer to be in his presence, and to see him walk down the street and to see the whole town just stop and try and just touch him or get his photo or pull out their phones to watch him walk across the street. I've never met anyone. He would be the equivalent of a modern day Jesus.
Wow, that big.
That I've never seen anyone. We walked into a nightclub once, and he'd walked across the dance floor, and halfway across the dance floor, someone said, "Hey, George St-Pierre," and everyone's dancing, and the whole room stopped, turned at George, and then the whole room walked like just to our table. And it was like an avalanche of people coming in to try and touch him, it was when we had to stop and just walk straight back out the door again. Otherwise, we would have got crushed by the masses. He is just ridiculously too famous. Wow. The first 3 days, it was like, oh yeah, wow, George is famous. This is cool. Every red light, George. Every time crossing the street, and let's say there's from here to 300 meters away. So he'd catch a taxi from there to there, because if he had to walk it, it'd be half an hour between
talking to people.
Just people touching him or a photo, or every meal was like 2 mouthfuls, stand up, picture, 2 mouthfuls, stop, photo. It was just like...
Is that too much? Do you think at some point he was looking to just get away from that?
So after the third day, it was like, yeah, it doesn't turn off. I just was expecting that to... But at night, if he goes to the toilet, for instance, there'd be someone outside the cubicle waiting for shaking head. It's like, oh, can I wash my hands before? Yeah, it was too much. It was like...
Do you think that's why he left?
I think people, not just George, but like Justin Bieber and people like that, you can see how it would affect their psyche, because...
It's not healthy, right?
It's not healthy. It's too much. It's just crazy. You're a prisoner of your own fame.
Of your own creation, right?
Yes.
Were you able to teach him anything in 2 weeks?
Yeah. He was...
Picks things up.
He was very karate based. So if he threw a front kick, he'd throw it and leave it out there. And because we were fighting Johnny too, Johnny was a southpaw, so we were working on basic techniques to your typical southpaw counters, and power wise too. When we first doing the pads, he was a little bit slow and not hitting to his full potential. And then about 3 or 4 days into what we're working on, just the different sound on the pads, and even John Dennehy, he's coach in New York, he sat down and watched the pad session. And then after the pads, he sat down and said, I can't believe the transformation in 7 days. This is crazy. I've never seen George hit so hard before. And flow. Flow from technique to technique instead of just ones.
Which is your specialty, like we were talking about earlier, flowing.
And hitting everything with bad intentions too. So there's no tip tats to set up the power. Everything was power.
That's the way you fight too. Everything is power.
It was really cool. It was really cool. But then what happened was I was there 14 weeks before the fight. I was there for 2 weeks, and then he had 12 weeks of falling back into that old routine where he beat Hendricks, but at the same time I think he could have beat him a lot easier with less punishment if we had stuck to a little bit what we were doing.
Right, and kept him sharper with the striking before that.
Kept him out of danger from that crazy left-handed Johnny's. So instead of walking into it, staying on the outside of it. So
okay. Is GSP going to come back?
Good question. I believe it's a. I think one of the things that made him turn off the spot was they didn't have the USADA drug testing. When he was fighting Johnny, he wanted to make a big statement that he wanted to pay. I was actually at the table where he was going to pay $20,000 out of his own money to have him and Johnny tested at any given time on that 10-week lead up. And then the UFC sort of ridiculed him a little bit. Dana White came out the next day saying, well, obviously George has trust issues and he doesn't believe in our system, and we're going to do a Wii test the night before the fight at the Wayne or after the fight to see if Johnny's hot or cold. And it's like, well, what about the lead up? What about doing the cycles? I don't want to fight someone that's chemically enhanced. I want to fight someone that, so it's an even playing field. And I think him stepping away made the UFC take a look at their policies. And now that they've implemented the ASADA testing, now everyone's getting tested. Everyone's getting caught nearly once a week. Such and such has just been tested positive. Which is great, because now people have they can't do their cycles, they can't cheat the system, they're getting tested out of competition. So it's good for the sport. It's good for the young guys coming up knowing that they're not going to get smashed.
He was talking a lot about it, and then I remember when Dana came out, and it was a real slap in the face to do that, especially to a champion, and he was offering it. Now I know it's weird I know for Dana to say, okay, yeah, George is going to test you, and it makes the organization look bad and blah, blah, blah. So I understand why Dana did it, but George was ultimately right. Yeah. And now they've started testing, and like you said, everyone's popping. And so I think it's a clean sport. I hope George doesn't come back. He seems quite happy, but at the same time, I'm talking to a fighter here, and the fighter always wants to be there. So I don't know if we'll see him. But
he's the thing is, he's so rich and he's so famous. For myself, like I can't retire and live off my savings because there is none. With the Muay Thai, whereas he's millions of dollars. So and he's I don't know. Once you're got that competitive streak in you, it's hard to turn off, I guess.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.